fantastic buying opportunity.
That's what James Douma, the AI expert, said today on Dave Lee's podcast. And this is what he said last time on Dave's podcast.
Way ahead of everybody else. They're probably 10 or 100 times or 1,000 times ahead of the guy that's in place 2.
James was talking about Tesla's data advantage when it comes to full self-driving. So if having the most data is the way to solve full self-driving, then Tesla, I believe, will certainly be the first one, just like James believes.
Kind of the impact on Tesla stock that Elon's involvement on Twitter might have. It's still kind of undecided completely what the impact is. But what are your thoughts?
They're unhappy with the fantastic buying opportunity he's creating for them.
I could not be happier with this buying opportunity. I am a little bit sad today that the stock is up so much because I am buying a few $100,000 worth of Tesla stock, but what can you do? It's still pretty good.
What are you? My thoughts. I have this pinned tweet from Gary Blackwell someplace, and this is something he said randomly. I don't want to beat up Gary here, right? I think he's a fine addition to the community and whatnot. But he tweeted out this thing was like, boy, it's been a tough week for long-term Tesla investors. And I highlighted that and saved it because to me, that's like a non sequitur, right? It's like, if you're a long-term investor, there are no hard weeks. There are no hard months. There are no hard quarters, right?
James is 100% right here. I mean, you look at the chart and right now, even a single day looks gray, but you look at a 5-day chart and 1 month chart, not good at all. 1 year, it's down 50%. This is not looking good. But when you look at 5 years, if you are a long-term investor and you're up 770%, you're telling me 770% return is not good? If you are a long-term investor, you are incredibly happy.
Because what you care about is what happens 10 years from now, or 5 years from now, or something, And actually, my brother-in-law, he didn't used to be into stock investing so much, and until they got into Tesla, and we talk about it from time to time. And recently, he told me that the price was down, and he was trying to figure out how to take advantage of it, right? And I was so happy to hear him thinking in those terms, right?
What we are going through right now reminds me of 2008 when everything crashed about 50%. Everyone was losing money. Everyone was losing their minds. Everyone was panicking. Everyone thought the whole system was going to collapse. And of course, nothing happened, except if you bought, you made so much money. Now, things could get much more worse from here. Right now, the markets are down, but they are not down a crazy amount. At one point, it was down almost 25%. Elon Musk is saying that recession is inevitable. Guess what I'm doing? I'm working every single day. And this, by the way, these videos are just a side thing that I'm doing. I'm looking at Tesla stock every single day, and then I'm doing everything else as normal. And I'm trying to take advantage of every single opportunity that I have so that if we do indeed crash, about 50%, just like in 2008. I want to take advantage of all of that. I want to invest millions during a market crash.
Because, in the long term, if you're confident in the company, the long-term trajectory is assured. And in the short run, it's just like, it goes up, it goes down. How do I take advantage of this?
Go work and make some money. That's how you take advantage of it.
To the extent that you care at all, you ask about that kind of stuff, because if it's down, for a year or 3 or something like that, what do I care? What I care about is what it is 10 years from now. So when I was early in stock investing, I used to stress about that kind of stuff. And now that I've been doing it for a couple of decades, what happens one quarter is like nothing. It doesn't matter at all. And so I just don't get excited about it.
This is that Citi analyst saying that right now, the PE ratio of Tesla is 30 times projected earnings of 2023. Just to give some context, this is PE ratio of S&P 500, the 500 biggest companies in the US. The average price to earnings ratio is about 15. Minimum is 5 and maximum a little bit over 100. And you can see that, around 20 times is nothing that crazy. We are talking about companies that are not growing anymore. Well, that is nowhere near as fast as Tesla. And you are telling me that for Tesla, I can buy it for basically 30 PE for 2023 PE. This is, for me, a fantastic deal. Not financial advice, but I believe very strongly, I am very confident that Tesla stock is going to be doing very well later.
And I feel like it's unfortunate to me that people get caught up in it, because I think it creates a lot of stress. And most of these people, they are long-term holders, right? And they, that they're in the company because they believe in the long-term mission and that kind of stuff. And worrying about what happens in the short run, I think, just causes a lot of stress. There's always this fear in the back of our mind that maybe we're wrong about the long-term thing. And maybe Wall Street's telling us we're wrong and we're just not getting it because we're in a bubble, we're in our little media bubble, or we've gotten drawn into something that we don't really understand. And, I'm super confident that that's not what's going on.
Well, the surprising thing is that Wall Street, it appears actually, it has figured out Tesla stock. Look at the price target. It's $310, 69% upside if you hold Tesla stock supposedly for 12 months. Wall Street thinks that it is going to be $310. You can see here, this is a 12-month price target. Of course, nothing is guaranteed, not financial advice, but you look at the average price for the price target is $310. The lowest one is $85. The highest one, as high as $760. Mind you, this is just 12 months.
Yeah. Business cycles happen, recessions happen, stocks, they all go down. They all go back up to, like, I've been watching this a long time. There's a historical record going back like so far that, these things recover.
There are some exceptions though. Clearly this would not apply to Elon. Elon can recover unexpectedly well.
And if you're in a position where there's a decent chance you're going to have to liquidate your holdings in the next 3 months or 6 months, well, yeah, be worried, right? Because things might not get better in 3 or 6 months. But if your time horizon is 10 years, like, this is nothing.
Short term, I would be very worried, because look at what fund managers are doing. They are overweight cash, meaning they have a lot more cash than normal, and equities, meaning stocks, they don't like them right now. If you are a trader and you are in stocks, this might look ugly, but long term, it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, I've been thinking lately, there's a spectrum of shareholders, but also even with a single shareholder, there's a spectrum of how much long-term kind of focus one can have versus, for example, maybe a certain percent of your holdings in Tesla, you want to kind of be able to liquidate within, a certain few years or something, or, year or 2 years, but maybe another section or portion you want to hold for longer. And so it's quite complicated because every person has a different type of allocation of goals. Some people, I don't need this money for another 10 or 20 years or whatever. Some people are like, a lot is riding on it. So yeah, it's a very interesting time.
I am not looking to sell any of my Tesla stock, at least until the end of 2030, because I believe it would at least minimum 10x before end of 2030. Not financial advice, of course. Maybe leave a comment. When are you planning to sell Tesla stock? Are you holding also until the end of 2030? Are you holding just for 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, or until it doubles, triples, quadruples, or 10x's? Until when are you holding your Tesla stock?
buying the stock, there's also this rationale about setting a floor on the stock price. Like, I think there is a point at which it makes sense for the board to do things that set a floor on the stock price. If your stock is too volatile, then your long-term ability to use stock to fund your business could be negatively impacted. And while, like, I tend to view Tesla as sort of entering this regime over the next decade or two, where they're just not going to need to fund their operations from anything other than their cash flow, that I don't see that being a really big thing, which is why I'm sort of assuming it's one of the first two. But so, yeah, sure, put a floor on the stock price. It'll make people feel happy, but it's a transitory fix, right?
Yeah.
Like, companies can't buy enough of their stock to set a permanent floor. So, people who like it as a, 1/4 pump to the stock price, good. But like I said earlier, I think things that you do that affect the stock price for a quarter, they mostly really don't matter and shouldn't.
I personally believe that doing a stock buyback would certainly, at least temporarily, increase Tesla's stock price by quite a bit. But even permanently, I believe it would have a positive effect, because the stock price, fundamentally, it is based on earnings per share. When you do a stock buyback, the total number of shares shrinks. So even if a company makes the same amount of money, because the amount of shares shrank, now your earnings per share increase because there are less shares. That's why, fundamentally, in theory, the stock price should increase permanently. But then the potential downside is oftentimes companies do buybacks or dividends because they cannot invest their money in any other place. In other words, maybe they are not growing as fast. And when companies do not grow as fast anymore, then their PE ratio is not going to be as high, because PE ratio also assumes how much is this company going to grow. If a company is going to grow a lot in the future, then the PE ratio is bigger. If a company is not going to grow at all, then the PE ratio is very small. And when you look at S&P 500 earnings per share, it is not growing much. And yet the PE ratio is, around 20-ish. And if Tesla stock price does not move at all, let's say for the next few years, that's where Tesla's PE ratio would be, basically. But one big difference, Tesla is expected to keep growing for the next 10 years by ridiculous numbers every single year.
Yeah. I mean, also, I think there's a chance that I do agree, like, if, the board, the company can authorize a certain number or billions of dollars to buy, they could kind of, if it dips below a certain point, they could just kind of keep on buying at a certain low point. But there's also a risk of, what if they run out, or what if, the economy just tanks further, the market tanks, and you kind of spent a lot of that already, and it just, your stock is lower, and you just did this kind of.
If the economy, your business, and the stock market all simultaneously go in the toilet, and you've spent it all, yeah, you're in a tough spot.
Yeah, well, it could also reek of desperation from some people outside if it doesn't work, meaning, things don't turn out like people are hopeful for. So that's where I'm kind of like, I think it's wishy-washy. I could see it potentially work. I could see some risk, but in the long term, like, I don't know, it just doesn't really matter in terms of, the company's long-term trajectory.
Exactly. I agree with Dave so much here. That's why I want Tesla to keep at least $20 billion in cash during these uncertain times. And preferably, I would want Tesla to have at least $30 billion in cash before we do any sort of buyback, just in case. I mean, remember, the only stock that I own in my stock portfolio is Tesla stock. So I don't want Tesla to spend all of its money on a buyback, even if that would mean much higher stock price short term. But then if Tesla has to raise money just in case, because the whole economy tanks, The downfall would probably be much bigger, but however, the increase would be in the first place because of a buyback.
Yeah, so mixed opinion, mixed feelings
The
about it, I
market
think.
dynamics around Tesla stock are very weird. They're really, it's, I've been significantly invested in some odd stories over the years and have seen some weird stuff, but Tesla really takes the cake.
James is so right about that. I've been telling my friends, cancel your Netflix, cancel your Hulu, cancel your Disney. Buy some Tesla stock. You will have so much fun. If you like comedy and drama and adventure and a thriller all in one, it's perfect.
Yeah, like I could totally see you just pouring unfathomable amounts of money into the stock for a really long time and the price not moving because the amount of cash they have on hand is small compared to the capitalization.
Yeah.
And if the investing community writ large is unconvinced, if their sentiment may, and it seems to be, the sentiment seems to be unconnected from the business.
Absolutely, 100%. Here is one of my favorite charts. You can see Tesla's projected earnings in red. These are estimates going up, and then the stock price going down. It's so funny to look at this. I stopped watching comedies recently. I'm just watching Tesla stock. It's so much fun.
Right now, because the business is doing great. There's no way, like in no rational sort of investing climate should we be going through this kind of stuff. But investing is often very irrational. And so these are just things that you go through. In the long run, what convinces people is a history of good profits, right? And, if you really believe, as I do, that that's, very likely to be what Tesla has in store for them, then eventually the market comes around, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why I believe Tesla stock is a buying opportunity for me, that is. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet. And these are reasons why Elon Musk believes Tesla stock is a buying opportunity right now. He explained it very well. You should finish watching that video if you haven't, or watch this one. But this one, you have to really finish watching in full. My name is Matt Postis, reporting to you from Vancouver City, Canada. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.